Right, so this week I am in Oxford for the Oxford Institute for Methodist Studies and here at Keble College at the University of Oxford. And my first time staying here. I've been at Christchurch and Lincoln and Pembroke in the past, but first time at Keble, and it's absolutely stunning. If you just take a look here at main lawns, it's quite fantastic, and particularly great to visit the college on a beautiful summer's day like it is today. Sunday, the 4th of August, and the beginning of a great week of meeting with colleagues and friends from many years, Methodists from around the world, theologians, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing here this week in just a minute. So the first time I attended the Oxford Institute was in 2007 at Christchurch, and I've been a few times since then, I think 3 or 4 times since that first meeting, and it's been absolutely wonderful. For the first 1 or 2 meetings, I participated in the Systematic Theology and Ethics working group. In fact, I chaired that group at one stage, co-chaired it. And for the last couple of meetings, I've been working in the New Testament Studies group. And in fact, that's the group that I'll be working in at this particular institute. So the Oxford Institute invites scholars, Methodist and Wesleyan and Wesley-related scholars from all around the world to come and participate in these institute meetings once every 4 years or so. Of course, like most other communities of scholars, we had some interruptions over the COVID years, and I can't remember exactly when the last one was. I'll have to have a look. That was at Pembroke. I think it might have been in 2019 or 2018. In fact, it was in 2018 because that was when I delivered the Fernley Hartley Trust lecture and that was at Pembroke. And so it's been almost 6 years since our last meeting. So really great to be back here. And so I'm participating in the New Testament Studies group again at this institute.
First, maybe briefly inviting our panelists to reflect.
So as I mentioned, the Institute works by inviting scholars or scholars applying to come and participate at one of these meetings, and you get allocated to a group, or you can apply to be in a particular group, and often it relates to your academic discipline. So Systematic Theology and Ethics, where I've been previously. The Wesleyan and Methodist History group, I think, is probably the largest. There are 2 of those. Biblical Studies, so Hebrew Bible and New Testament Studies, each have a group. There's Mission, Christian Education, there's a decolonial group, if I'm not mistaken. So all of these different groups meet together once every 4 years. And this year, our meeting in the New Testament group, we have scholars from Latin America, from the United States, from Africa, from parts of Europe, from Asia. So it makes for a really rich conversation amongst New Testament scholars, thinking a little bit about what it means to interpret the Bible. And one of the themes for this year is glad tidings in the midst of crisis. So the various crises that we face in the world, the environmental and ecological crisis, human rights crises, wars around the world, and what it means to do New Testament scholarship from a Methodist perspective within that broader theme. So, as I mentioned, I'll be in the New Testament group again this year, and I'm going to be looking at the work of a Methodist New Testament scholar named Walter Wink. And Wink is probably best known for a trilogy of books that he wrote, often called the Powers Trilogy, between the late 1970s into the 1990s. And in this series of books, he draws on a theology and a reading of the New Testament, particularly the life and witness and revolutionary ministry of Jesus, to look at how we engage the powers of our age. And Why I chose Walter Wink in particular is because he visited South Africa just after the second state of emergency in the 1980s. 1987, he was there for 40 days to train Methodists in the way of engaging with structural and personal violence in what he called militant non-violence. And many of us were deeply informed in the ways in which we engaged apartheid in a way that was not violent and also not passive, capitulating to the structural violences of the time. And out of that visit to South Africa, he published a book called Jesus' Third Way. So what I'm wanting to do is to reread this little book in the paper that I present, where he looks at Matthew 8 from around about verse 38 to verse 42, and he reads this parable of Jesus engaging the sort of political and structural violences of his day. You'll know the story about turning the other cheek, about when you are sued for your cloak, give more than you need to, when you're subjected to an unjust command, how you can outgive and humiliate the one who seeks to unjustly humiliate you. So what I'm wanting to do is to read that passage again in the midst of some of the crises that we are facing now. As I may have mentioned, the theme of this Oxford Institute is glad tidings in the midst of crisis. And I'm wanting to see what can we draw upon from Wink's work as New Testament scholars in particular that can inform a theology of justice and peace, a politics of peace, I'm calling it, in this reality. And so there are two things I'm really wanting to do is to draw some specific resources from the ministry and life and witness of Jesus as Wink unpacks them in that book, Jesus' Third Way, and see what they might mean for us today. And the second thing is to speak a little bit about the responsibility of being a New Testament scholar in the Methodist or Wesleyan tradition. So looking at the ways in which we can hold this tension between a kind of theological conviction and understanding that the God whom we love and serve and our calling and ministry as Methodists invites us to live in a certain way in the world, but also holding in tension the fact that we have a discipline that we adhere to, that when we read sacred and texts from the ancient Near East, we have to be careful that we don't abuse them or misuse them. So that's a little bit what I'm doing in my paper today. I'll post a link to the paper in the show notes. I hope at some stage it'll be published. It'll no doubt need a lot of rework. That's what this conference is about, to discuss the ideas, to test them, to improve them, and then for it to be published. So looking forward to a wonderful week here in Oxford. Registration starts in about half an hour, so I'm going to see if I can walk just around the college, see where I'm situated, scope out my running route for tomorrow morning, and then looking forward to the rest of this week. Right, so this is Dion from the future. It is Saturday morning. And the week has passed. I didn't get to edit and upload the video during the week. It was a wonderfully busy and engaged week. So I'm here Saturday morning running along the Thames path, which I've done many times before, out for a quick 10-kilometer run. But it was an absolutely amazing week. Such incredible papers from really great colleagues. The plenaries were excellent yesterday. Professor Paulovai reconfiguring the ways in which we think about ecological theologies in relation to the Pacifica region as Methodists. But within the Wesleyan and Methodist New Testament group, we had some amazing papers from colleagues. So I'll post a link to where the papers can be downloaded. As I mentioned, my own paper was engaging the work of Walter Wink and rethinking both methodologically and in terms of content how we might read the Bible for ethical issues, contemporary ethical issues. Someone mowing the lawn. There's going to be a cricket match. By the way, I woke up early this morning and watched the Springboks play the Wallabies. It was an amazing match, well won. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and sorry I didn't get to upload the video sooner, but I'll put a link to where all the papers are. And I hope you enjoy some of them. It probably will be not only our papers, but the papers from all of the other groups as well, eventually posted on the Oxford Institute site. And if you come across this video and you were at the Oxford Institute in the past or were there this year, I'd love to hear from you. So Thanks for watching.